right, now we're going to talk a little bit about the ears. Now, ears are a little tricky. Noses are made out of cartilage, ears are made out of cartilage. So sometimes they're a little bit tough to draw. So what I want to do is first, I'm going to show you what an ear looks like when you view it sideways. One time I was drawing a self-portrait. Actually, I was painting a self-portrait. And I spent a long time looking at my ear in the mirror, trying to get it exactly right. And I stayed at the studio till it was really, really late. I went home, went to bed, and later on in the day, the next day I came back and looked at it, and something was not right about the ear. I mean, the ear looked good, but something was wrong. And what I realized was, whenever I was looking at the ear, I was turning. And so I was drawing the side view of my ear on my face going to the front. But see, ears don't stick out flat like this. Ears tilt back away from your head, kind of like a car door. And I had drawn my ear like this, so it was sticking way out. So what I want to do is first, I'm going to show you what an ear looks like from the side, and then I'm going to show you what an ear looks like forwards. And so if you want to draw on a scrap piece of paper to kind of follow along, you can. Now, ears are usually going to be bigger at the top and narrower at the bottom. And not everyone has the same shaped earlobes. Some people have attached earlobes, some people have detached earlobes. It just, again, depends on your ear. But on every ear that you draw, there's always going to be a ridge that is right up here. Every single ear is going to have one of these every single time. A lot of people, when they want to draw an ear, they want to throw a letter S in here because they look at all that's going on in here and say, oh, it's too hard, I can't draw it. Well, there's never a letter S inside of an ear. Now, there's a letter Y, but there's not a letter S, and I'll explain that in a minute. So this ridge that's inside the ear, this is going to usually curve in toward the inside of the ear a little bit. And sometimes there'll be a little bit of a line here, kind of suggesting that it would keep going, but it doesn't actually totally connect, so it kind of blends into the head a little bit here. But there's a little line that suggests this. Now, down here in the ear, there's something I call the bug bumper. I call it a little bumper that, like if you were like riding a bicycle, the bugs would like hit this bumper and keep from going inside your ear. So there's usually like a little bit of skin right here, a little bit of cartilage that kind of sticks out. It's like a little bump that kind of keeps bugs from going into your ear if you're riding a bicycle. And that bug bumper is going to run right into what would be where the Q-tip would go into your ear. If you were cleaning your ears, this would be like where the hole would be behind this bug bumper. This is kind of like the little valley showing you where that ear is going to be. And then where this hole is going to be, there's going to be another piece of cartilage right here that's a little bigger and a little wider like so. Okay? So you're going to see this. Now, the hardest part of the ear is what's left, and it's the letter Y we talked about earlier. Like a tree, you know how a tree sometimes will fork, like it'll make two branches and forks. Well, that's what happens here. There's going to be a ridge that comes up, and it's going to fork and make kind of a Y. Not a perfect one, but kind of a Y. So what's going to happen is this is going to come up, and it's going to kind of go up into the ear like so, like that. And there's going to be a little bit of a branch here. And this is really soft and subtle, and this is going to be like kind of like the V in between the Y, okay? So you got this, and then there's going to be another part here, this part of the Y. And sometimes this part will run right into this ridge. Sometimes they run together and form an exact same line that goes down a little bit. Sometimes this part will stick out over the ridge and cover it up. It just depends on the person's ear. So it can vary from person to person. Ultimately, you look at what's happening. Now, to give this ear some depth, you can add some shading inside the deepest parts of the ear, like so. This is inside the ear too, so it's going to have a little bit of shading too. It just may not be quite as dark. You can add a little shading in here just a little bit. Don't go too dark with it, because I mean there's light hitting inside of it too. But there'll be some light, you know, in the darkest parts. And then there might be a little shadow underneath here on the bottom part of the ear. Okay, so that's a little bit what an ear would look like kind of from the front. But when you're looking at an ear head on, that ear is going to look a lot skinnier. So when you're drawing that ear, it's going to be a lot thinner because you're looking at it head on, okay, coming straight toward you a little bit. It's going to angle back a little bit. Let me see if I can make that darker so you can see it in this light. This ridge, it's still there, just you're going to see more of the front of the ridge, and what's going to happen is it's going to look really smaller back here because this part is going away from you. And this part's still going to curve in just like this curved in. And then you might want to suggest that little line here like that, like so. And sometimes hair will cover this up. Sometimes you won't even see the top half of the ear at all. All right. Now, something that bug bumper will still be there, and it may be higher, depends on the person. It'll be here, and that's that bug bumper, and it's going to make the little hole, the little valley where the hole is going to be. And you're still going to have this piece of cartilage right here. And then the hardest part is this letter Y. And this letter Y is going to come up, it's going to curve up into here. It's going to be a little V in here, kind of a V. It's going to be a little bit in here. It's going to be kind of skinnier. And then this part might coincide. This part might coincide with this from this angle. It just depends. And it'll kind of run down next to it. And again, you can add some shadow and things to kind of give it some depth. That will help a little bit. I think we'll do the same thing here. So we'll go in, add a little bit of shadow, like so. Add a little shadow underneath. Okay. If you're trying to deal with like earrings or things, an earring, like for instance, you might have an earring that is just a diamond stud. It's going to look a little bit like an oval, and it's going to have, you know, kind of some thickness to it. And this might be what the earring might look like. Or if you had like a pirate earring or a hoop earring, you might have an earring that comes out like so and goes behind here. And goes underneath like so. Okay, and that's possible. But these are things that could be added to the ear. Let's take a little time right now and let's add some ears to this. And I think what I'll do is to kind of help you out, I'm going to put this ear to the side here to maybe help you. Remember that this is the low point of the ear. It's where it's in between the nose and the lips, and the high part of the ear is between the eyes and the eyebrows. But if some people have attached earlobes where the earlobe actually attaches to the side of the head, but we're going to make detached for this one. But you just look at what's happened to the person. But you're going to have this. This is going to be small and skinny. This is going to start down here. It's going to come up here, but the ears are going to be not really huge because we're looking at them from the front. So we're going to make it kind of skinny. And again, we're just making kind of a generic ear. We're not trying to, you know, draw anyone's in particular ear. We're going to draw this ridge that goes around. So we come in here, we draw this ridge. It's bigger here, a little skinnier here. We're going to suggest this little loop right here over to the side. So add that in. We're going to look for the bug bumper. Come in, suggest it. Going to create that little valley where the hole of the ear would be, right there. Here's another piece of card that's kind of big. We come in, we draw it, and then we draw the letter Y. And this thing's going to come straight up into here. So we take this, straight up into here, not a really hard line. And then we draw kind of like the V inside the Y. And then we look for this part of the Y here, and it's going to be right here beside this one, and kind of run along. And then we just add a little bit of shadow, like so. And we get a decent looking ear on this side. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing on this side, but kind of in reverse. So again, we're going to start kind of low. Kind of pay attention to the thickness. Not everyone has symmetrical ears. I know I don't, but a lot of people do. So you come on up. Just remember, it's usually going to be bigger at the top and narrower at the bottom, usually. Okay? It's got the ridge, so we're going to draw the ridge over here as well. Ridge, coming down. Suggest that little bit of the ridge here. Look for the bug bumper. Curves out, curves into the hole. Creates this little piece of fatty cartilage here. And then this piece of cartilage will go up and become that letter Y that we talked about. So let's come on in and suggest that Y. Put the little V for the Y, put this Y in here. And we may have to come in and erase and change a little bit. And again, we can suggest some shadow in here to show some depth, to make it look deeper. And the lines that are the darkest are going to be probably this line and this line, and these are going to be a little more subtle, more shaded. Okay? So that gives us the ears. All right? All right, we're going to do one more thing, and then we're going to stop the video. Let's talk about the neck for a minute. The neck is almost as wide as the jaw, almost as wide as the jaw. So if you find where the jaw, where that angle is, and you come down here and put this here, and then come down here and do this here also. Now, if someone's really, really muscular, it may even go to the very, where their neck meets their ears, if there's someone really muscular or a really large neck. But it's going to go here. And when a lot of people try to make the neck way too skinny, they try to like draw crazy little skinny lines like this, like their head's on some kind of broomstick. That does not look natural at all. You want to make sure that the neck is almost as wide as the jaw. And we're going to come back in just a minute, and we're going to talk a little bit about how the neck attaches to the shoulders and how we can deal with shirts. And then at the end, we'll go to hair.